So, I guess it's been a little bit since I last uploaded. And listen, man, you can't really blame me. I've been super busy. School started back up. I'm a second year in college now, and I actually have to start worrying about the long-term consequences of my actions. I got a part-time job now, on top of being a full-time student, and most days are just the same and it sucks. Hell, I can't even watch as much anime as I used to, for better or for worse. Over the summer season, I only picked up a handful of shows, and even then, it was still difficult to keep up with them whilst also balancing all other aspects of my life.
We do not care.
And y'all gotta understand, there's so much anime coming out per season nowadays. This video is going to be far from a comprehensive review of all the shows that aired in summer of 2024. Hell, in this season alone, the shows that I didn't watch or shows that flew completely under my radar include Oshinoko Season 2, Elusive Samurai, a Suicide Squad anime for some reason, Shy Hero, a show called Days with My Stepsister, which I'm sure was very wholesome and unproblematic, a VTuber anime, M. Night Shyamalan's Split if it was a high school rom-com anime, the anime industry's first targeted attempt at increasing their Jamaican demographic, the exact same generic isekai power trip fantasy copy and pasted 14 times in a row, and Tower of God. Okay, well, to be fair, I don't know if anyone watched the new Tower of God, but you get, as you can see, that's a whole lot of anime that I didn't watch this season. But that doesn't mean I left the season of heat waves and evil bugs completely empty-handed, so let's get into the purpose of this video, me wanting to talk about the stuff that I did watch. So I'm gonna do that now, I'm gonna talk about it. Alya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian, or Roshidere for short, was a nice little rom-com anime that I picked up out of sheer action shonen fatigue. As you'll see with my selection of shows that I watched this season, none of them are action shonen. So sorry if you were looking forward to me discussing one of the 29 isekai about a black-haired edgelord being naturally gifted with the most powerful abilities in his universe. Spring 2024 was packed to the brim with shonen. And couple that with all the action-packed shows that I was watching that weren't currently airing, I just needed a break from all the intense climatic Sakuga battles and tales of heroism. I think that's part of why I was so easily able to vibe with a more laid-back rom-com like Alya. Roshidere follows Masachika Kuze, a first-year student at this fancy private high school. Kuze is an easygoing and quick-witted guy, and although he possesses great intelligence and potential, he prefers to sit back and stay out of the social spotlight, talking about his otaku interests rather than his academics. He reminds me just a little of Sakuta from Bunny Girl Senpai, which immediately made me hopeful for the show because I absolutely adore Bunny Girl Senpai. I think I still prefer Sakuta, but one thing that Kuze does have over him is the ability to speak and understand Russian on a fluent level. This perfectly coincides then the moment he befriends the titular Alisa Kujo, also known as Alya. Alya is a member of the student council, originally from Russia, who is in many ways quite the opposite to Kuze personality-wise. Very stern, strict, and expecting of herself and her fellow students, they represent a prestigious school after all. But Alya's defining and perhaps most important trait in my opinion? She's a tsundere, which we all know is the best dere type, especially if you're writing a rom-com anime. Don't at me, some people don't like the truth because the truth is painful. So you could probably guess from this information that the show centers around the fact that because of her tsundere tendencies, Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. The catch being that Kuze secretly understands the things that Alya says. I don't want to give away too much on the plot, as I do believe the show is worth watching if you haven't already and have the time to watch it. Outside of our main duo, the rest of the primarily female cast have their own quirks and personalities too. Masha plays the bubbly older sister to Alya. Ayano is a kudere, indebted to Kuze's family. Nonoa reminds me of Hayasaka from Love is War, except she's probably way more evil. Speaking of evil, if you have been anywhere near the online circles discussing this show, you've probably seen clips or heard about Yuki, who effectively acts as the antagonist against our main duo. The bottom line is, she's weird, bro. Like, at times she can be funny or sincere, but everything in between is just weird, bro. And it's because of that weirdness that she's probably one of the best parts of the show. Oh, I don't make the rules, man. That's just how it works in anime. Let me land, G. The romance story beats are on par with just about any other good rom-com anime. The comedy is good enough to make you do the little nose exhale things from time to time. There's some fan service, but also that's expected of literally 90% of any anime created ever, so if it actually bothers you, you should probably switch hobbies, I don't know. Animation studio Dogakobo gives this show an, although a little generic, very clean visual aesthetic. They absolutely kill it with the opening animation, which is a hit, like, bro, just look at this. This shit means something to me. The second and fourth ending songs also hits. It's just a real nice, mellow rom-com that you can just throw on in the background and not think too much about. The season ends off with a good amount of progress being made, and a season 2 has already been secured, so I was very satisfied with this first season, and I look forward to whatever comes next for Roshidere. A calm little 7 out of 10. Now, if Roshidere was a show that you didn't have to think too much about while watching, my Deer Friend Nokotan takes that notion and ramps it up by 100. Going into the summer season, this was actually my most anticipated show because, well, you know why. This one silly little dance set my own, as well as many others' expectations of this show, dangerously high. I remember before the first episode even dropped, some people were talking about it with the hopes that it could be up there in the same realm as a Lucky Star or as a Nichijou in terms of just an anime about funny high school girls doing funny things. So did it meet my expectations? Well, no. And listen, I'm not gonna hate on those that did enjoy it. The show for sure has some endearing things going for it. Wit Studio takes a very unserious stylistic approach to animating this with 3D modeled deer all over the place and exaggerated character movements and reactions that are in line with the gag anime vibe they're going for here. Most of the main cast in the Deer Club, as well as the side characters like the student council members, play their stereotypes well enough for them to be likable. Koshtan and Nokotan butting heads is basically the driving force of this show, so it helps that their dynamic isn't complete dog water. Koshtan trying to keep up her perfect student facade whilst Nokotan seemingly tries to ruin any peace and quiet that Koshtan gets is a funny bit, though it gets a little old for me around halfway through the season. The student council members have some good bits as well, though they too become a tad bit repetitive. I fuck with Bashime. I don't really know what she does, but she's cool. The only super major miss for me at least was Koshitan's younger sister, who makes this season of anime go 2 for 2 with little sisters of the protagonists being obsessed with their older siblings. I would have to give the edge to Anko though for being more annoying and less funny than Yuki by quite a large margin. At the end of the day, most of the comedy just wasn't for me, which is obviously going to affect my enjoyment of a comedy-centered show. I think it was about 4 to 5 episodes in where it really clicked with me that the best way I think I could describe this show is anime brain rot. And if that's for you, then go for it. But at the end of the 12th episodes, I kind of wish that I could get the 4-ish hours I put into watching this show back so that I could invest that time into something better. I honestly believe the virality of the opening dance really made me overshoot my expectations for Nokotan. And yeah, you could argue that any serious expectations shouldn't have been that high after watching an 8-second clip of an anime girl dancing next to a deer with a catchy song hook playing in the background. But even without that hype, I feel like I would have liked the show better if more of the comedy landed with me, and if they just showcased a tiny amount of emotionally impactful moments. Something that separates the all-timers like Lucky Star and Nichijou is that they do all the slice-of-life funnies, but they have at least one moment where your time spent with these characters feels completely validated. With Nokotan, I just didn't get that. I understand it's probably difficult to fit a moment like that within a 12-episode runtime, but it's been done before, and I wish it was done here. I fuck with Bashime though, so... I said earlier that I didn't pick up any action shonen this season because I felt fatigued by tales of heroism. As I would find out through this show, however, that last part isn't particularly true. The third and final show I picked up for the 2024 summer anime season happened to be an incredible anime about heroism, though the subsequent heroines aren't the ones you'd traditionally picture. No, in this show, most of these heroines came in the losing variety. I absolutely loved Too Many Losing Heroines, or MakeIne, whatever you want to call it. Initially, I kind of just picked it up with the thought in mind that I was going to want to make a sort of anime review type video, and so I needed another show to have enough material to actually talk about. I went in completely blind, no expectations, and maybe that's part of why I found MakeIne so enjoyable. But if you were to say that was the defining reason, I think you would be doing a huge disservice to all the other things this show does extraordinarily well. From the very first shot of the very first episode, the show captures your attention with an aesthetic that immediately distinguishes itself from any other show this season. The colors they use are vibrant during the day and subtle during the night. The way the talented individuals over at A1 Pictures illustrate scenery for this show is absolutely gorgeous. Whether it be stagnant shots of the sky or close-up shots of greenery or school water fountains, everything looks so crisp and alluring. Another thing this show had over the other shows I watched this summer was its music. If you want to talk openings and endings, MakeIne's got both covered. The exuberant opening credits fit perfectly with Bochi Boromaru's Tsuyogare Girl, and I love how each of the girls get their own ending songs and animations. Though if I had to choose a favorite, I would have to go with Love 2000, performed by the anime's very own Ana Yanami. I really wanted to get a guitar cover of this up, but again, I was hella busy. To this point, we've been speaking strictly about openings and endings, but even outside of those two categories, this show still excels in its musical presentation. In my opinion, MakeIne was the only show this season that had a truly recognizable OST. Much like the visuals, the background music just envelops you and starts to evoke all kinds of emotions. The main theme especially is one I really enjoyed for its nostalgia-infused, melancholic, and somber tones. And it's through a voice over that very theme in which we are introduced to our protagonist, Nukumizu. I'm gonna be honest, he didn't really connect with me at first. Hell, I don't think he even fully resonates with me now. My first impressions of him were that of a generic rom-com MC. He seemed bland, I didn't like his voice, and I really wasn't looking forward to seeing him get dragged around by all the members of his ever-growing harem. Fortunately, this show handled Nukumizu and the other cast members who we'll get to with a lot more respect than I had initially anticipated. I mean, yes, he is dragged around for the first couple of episodes, but it was very rewarding watching him progress past that. Progressing past his previously adopted mindset of simply accepting that he is a background character of sorts. Nukumizu starting to make personal decisions about his relationships with others moves the story along, but he definitely isn't the sole reason for this story's progression. After all, the selling point of Too Many Losing Heroines is, of course, the losing heroines. It's a unique spin on the romance anime genre to focus on those who traditionally end up on the losing end of promising romantic relationships. MakeIne tackles the different ways one deals with the emotional jabs of rejection brilliantly through the three female leads. Ana Yanami, the poster girl for this show, carries herself as such, a trademark funny, popular childhood friend. Lemon, a jock of sorts, also falls into the childhood friend bin. In my opinion, she might be the weakest of the three, but again, all three are still very strong characters, and I like how Lemon's primary emotional battles stem from unlucky timing and learning to move on with what could have been. Komari is great. She finds ways to be a likable geek of a character, shining even in the episodes that don't revolve around her. I don't think it's a perfect anime by any means, and at the time of my recording this, they still have time to pull a Wonder Egg priority and screw up an otherwise incredible show with an anime original ending. I hope, of course, that doesn't end up being the case, and I have faith that the anime original ending that they go with will be one that is satisfactory to the fans. It's actually in thinking about this show ending that I realized just how good a job they've done in making me care about the characters. I was under the impression that this show was going to have more episodes and am actually a little sad to see it ending.
ただそれだけのことを伝え合うためにこんな大騒ぎをしてもちろんみんないつかは疎遠になるだろうだけどそれはどんな人間関係でも変わらない俺たちは仮初めのつながりを繰り返し掴んでは手放して生きていくそれは寂しいけれど悲しいばかりじゃないそんな気がする
A smooth 9 for Too Many Losing Heroines.
だけどさ 小まちゃんに全部言わせるんじゃなくて。
Hey guys, thanks for watching if you did. I didn't really prepare a proper conclusion or outro for this, but I hope you enjoyed regardless. I missed a ton of anime this season, so if y'all have one that you really liked that wasn't one of the 3 I picked up, go ahead and throw it in the comments. And if your favorite show was one of the ones that I talked about this season, throw it in the comments anyway, dude. Sorry for the long period between uploads. Unfortunately, it'll probably be that way for the rest of the year at least. I appreciate your guys' support, whether it's just liking or subbing, the easy stuff, you know what I'm saying? I just kind of wanted to get something out. But yeah, if you've stayed watching this long, I really do appreciate it. And I guess I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.